Welcome to Spectrum News at 4, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Let's take a look at the top stories. Senate sets up 12-member committee to work with reps on electoral amendment bill. Federal government reaffirms commitment to knowledge-driven economy through chemical sciences. In other stories, China rejects global rebukes of Jimmy Lai sentence. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more after this time out. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on the news at 4. We begin the news at this hour from the national scene where the federal government has reiterated its commitment to transitioning Nigeria from a resource-based to a knowledge-driven economy through the foundational role of chemical sciences. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Dr. Kingsley Ude, made the pledge while delivering an address at the opening ceremony of the 11th at the 11th American Chemical Society ACS Nigeria International Chemical Sciences Chapter Annual Symposium. He said the government would work with the National Assembly, the private sector, and international partners to significantly increase funding for market-driven, application-oriented research, adding that priority would be given to grants, infrastructure, and policies that protect intellectual property and translate laboratory breakthroughs into practical solutions. According to the minister, data from credible sources, including the National Bureau of Statistics, show that the contribution of chemical technology and advanced manufacturing to Nigeria's gross domestic product and export earnings remains disproportionately low when compared with the country's potential. He said Nigeria must confront this reality, noting that despite abundant natural resources, performance in chemical technology and value addition processing remains below expectations. From the Red Chambers, the Senate has appointed a 12-member conference committee to harmonize differences between its version of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill and that of the House of Representatives. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the decision during an emergency plenary session today. The members are Senator Simon Bakolalong, Chairman; 2. Senator Mohammed Taher Monguno, Member; 3. Senator Adamo Aliero, Member; 4. Senator Oji Uzokale, Member; 5. Senator Abba Moro, Member; 6. Senator Asukwo Ekpeong, Member; 7. Senator Aminu Iya Abbas, Member; 8. Senator Tokumbo Abiru, Member; 9. Senator Nihi Adebonimire San, Member; 10. Senator Jibrin Isa, Member; 11. Senator Ikpalibo Banigbo, Member; 12. Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi, Member. He asked the committee to treat its assignment as urgent, expressing optimism that the process could be concluded swiftly. He said that the outcome would be transmitted promptly to President Bola Tinubu for assent within February.
A result of communication failure, in other words, maybe network, move your counter motion. So if you agree with him, you agree with me when I put the votes. When I ask for the votes, when I ask for your consent, let me read the motion. His earlier motion which passed in our last sitting, he has sought to rescind that, that is in respect of section 60 subsection 3. And this is what he's proposing. That the presiding officer shall electronically transmit the results from each polling unit to the IRF portal. And such transmission shall be done after the prescribed form EC8A has been signed and stamped by the presiding officer and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units, because sometimes you don't see any polling agent. Provided that if the electronic transmission of the result fails, if it fails as a result of communication failure, in other words, maybe network or otherwise, and it becomes impossible to transmit the result electronically in Form EC8A, signed and stamped by the presiding officer, and or countersigned by the candidates or polling agents where available at the polling units, the Form EC8A shall in such a case be the primary source of collation. So distinguished colleagues, if anybody has a counter motion, you move it later. But in the meantime, those in support of the motion as enunciated by Senator Mongunu and seconded by Senator Bamoro say aye. Aye. And those again say nay. Nay. The ayes have it.
In the meantime, the Senate has assured President Bola Tinubu of its readiness to work closely with the executive arm to ensure the timely passage and effective implementation of the 2026 appropriation bill. The assurance was given by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during the public hearing and interactive session on the 2026 appropriation bill, organized by the Senate Committee on Appropriations at the National Assembly, Abuja. Akpabio, who was represented by the Deputy President of the Senate, Baru Jibrin, said the legislature remained committed to its constitutional responsibilities of oversight, accountability, and legislative support aimed at stabilizing the economy and improving the welfare of Nigerians. He noted that Nigeria was at a critical juncture, grappling with inflationary pressures, infrastructure deficits, unemployment, and lingering security challenges, which he said directly affected the daily lives of citizens. Meanwhile, the Senate has said that any agency benefiting from service-wide votes without proper accountability would no longer be tolerated. This is according to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Adeola Olamilekan, who warned that the 2026 budget would mark a decisive break from past spending practices. Speaking at a one-day public hearing on the 2026 appropriation bill, Senator Olamilekan stated that every expenditure item would be subjected to strict scrutiny to determine how public funds are utilized. He called on ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, to cooperate fully with oversight institutions to promote transparency, efficiency, and fiscal discipline across government. The lawmaker also declared that the National Assembly will no longer extend the implementation of federal budgets beyond December 31, insisting that delays undermine fiscal planning and accountability. In another development, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, has expressed concern over inadequate funding, warning that it could hamper the Commission's ability to effectively carry out its mandate. Olukoyede made this known today before plenary when he appeared before the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes chaired by Senator Emmanuel Udende to present the EFCC's expenditure performance for the 2025 fiscal year and its budget proposals for 2026. According to him, only 50% of the Commission's capital allocation was released, a situation he said has affected critical operations. He disclosed that the contractors handling EFCC projects have not been paid, while license providers essential to the Commission's investigative work are also yet to be serviced. He explained that the EFCC received an approved appropriation of 92.22 billion naira for the 2025 fiscal year, out of which 74% had been released as of December 31, 2025. In a separate development, the commander of the United States Africa Command, AFRICOM, General Dagvin Anderson, has reaffirmed the United States' commitment to supporting Nigerian-led solutions to the country's security challenges. He said this would be achieved through intelligence sharing and technical advisory support to enhance Nigeria's independent operational capabilities. This was contained in a statement by the Defense Headquarters DHQ through the Director of Defense Information DDI, Major General Samaila Uba. According to Major General Uba, the AFRICOM commander interacted with senior Nigerian security officials, including the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa retired, Chief of Defense Staff General Olufemi Oluyede, Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Waidi Shaibu, and other senior officials. Elsewhere, Operation Savannah Shield, deployed in Kwara State following last week's terrorist attack on Woro community in Kayama local government area, has swung into operation. Recall that President Bola Tinubu ordered the movement of 1 battalion of troops to the area in the wake of the attack, in which more than 100 people were killed. The Defense Headquarters DHQ said that the operation, which will also take charge of Niger State, would fish out the terrorists who killed people for justice to be served. A statement by Defense spokesman Major General Michael Onoja also itemized some of the success recorded by troops in other parts of the country. We move now to Africa, where Tanzanian Foreign Minister Mahmoud Kombo has held talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow, in the latest sign of strengthening relations between the two countries. During the meeting, Kombo delivered a letter from Tanzanian President Samia Hassan to Russian President Vladimir Putin, underscoring Dar es Salaam's commitment to expanding bilateral cooperation. Speaking after the talks, Kombo thanked the Russian leadership for what he described as efforts to elevate relations between the two nations. He said the importance of strategic cooperation with Russia had been highlighted by President Hassan in a recent address to diplomats and international organizations based in Tanzania. On the foreign scene now, Beijing said today it has lost solemn representations with countries that condemned the 20-year prison sentence given to Hong Kong pro-democracy tycoon Jimmy Lai for national security crimes. Countries including the United States, Britain, and Australia have spoken out against Monday's sentence, with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio calling it unjust and tragic. The European Union said it deplored 78-year-old Lai's sentencing and called for his immediate and unconditional release, while Britain vowed to rapidly engage further on his case. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry said that certain countries and institutions have used this judicial case to maliciously smear Hong Kong. Still on the foreign scene, Iran has warned that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the United States is an attempt to undermine the newly started nuclear talks between Iran and the United States. Netanyahu departed for Washington today to meet U.S. President Donald Trump in a bid to press him to take a harder line on Iran's ballistic missile capabilities in upcoming negotiations. This is the Israeli Prime Minister's seventh meeting with Trump since his return to office, including one in Jerusalem in October 2025, after Trump announced a ceasefire in Gaza. He said he would present to Trump Israel's views regarding the principles of the negotiations. In response to Netanyahu's visit to Washington, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said at a press conference that Israel has been the main cause of insecurity and security problems in the region. Still to come in the news, Chelsea targets seventh straight home win over Leeds. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more when we return from this break. Welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us. Now let's conclude on the rest of our news stories. On our business news, Nigeria's net foreign reserves have risen to $49 billion in a remarkable sustained recovery from about $3 billion recorded in May 2023. Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Olayemi Cardoso said the nation's net foreign reserves hit $49 billion by February 5, 2026, as inflows from remittances, non-oil exports, and other individual and institutional sources continued to provide strong buffers for the nation's currency stability. Cardoso made this known in Abuja at the second edition of National Economic Council NEC conference. He described the steady improvement in forex reserves as a clear sign of improving confidence in the country's economy. We move now to health, where the joint health sector unions has warned of a renewed nationwide strike if the federal government fails to implement agreed salary adjustments by April. Chairman of Johasu Cross River State Chapter, Dr. Basi Icha, made the disclosure today in Calabar during an interview with newsmen. The warning follows the suspension of the union strike, which began on November 15, 2025 and was halted on February 6 by its national leadership. Icha said work resumed after members held congresses in their respective units and branches, adding that the strike was driven mainly by the non-review of the consolidated health salary structure introduced in 2009 without adjustment. Still in health, the Nigerian Association of Dermatologists, NAD, has launched a nationwide campaign to address growing public health concerns about skin bleaching in Nigeria. The campaign, themed Embrace Your Skin, was unveiled during a press conference held at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital Dermatological Clinic in Lagos. Speaking during the briefing, the NAD president, Professor Dasetima Altraide, warned that the medical risk associated with bleaching are severe and far outweigh any perceived benefits. Altraide explained that while lighter skin is often perceived as more desirable, or socially advantageous. The practice has been linked to several infections, including skin cancers. In the world of sports, Chelsea returned to Stamford Bridge this evening to face old rivals Leeds United in the Premier League, with momentum, history and league position all adding extra edge to the contest. There is little respite in the Blues' demanding fixture schedule, but confidence is high after Saturday's 3-1 victory away at Wolverhampton Wanderers. That result left Chelsea fifth in the table, and depending on results elsewhere, a win tonight could lift the reigning world champions into the top four with a third of the season remaining. Leeds arrive in West London, having enjoyed an extra day's recovery after beating Nottingham Forest 3-1 on Friday. Still in sports, Middlesbrough moved to the top of the championship for the first time since mid-October as they delivered an excellent performance to beat 10-man Sheffield United. First-half goals from Tommy Conway and Riley McGree made it 6 wins in a row, their best run since October 2023, as they opened up a 2-point gap over previous leaders Coventry City, taking full advantage of the Sky Blues' goalless draw with Oxford United. The result sets things up for a meeting between the top two at the CBS Arena next Monday. And now on entertainment, popular skip maker Isaac Aloma, also known as Zik Saloma, has revealed that his family members played a major role in delaying him from achieving financial independence due to their entitled attitude. The skip maker disclosed this while sharing his opinion on financial independence in a recent video broadcast. He insisted that people must adopt strict financial boundaries if they truly desire financial freedom, claiming that one has to be selfish even to friends and family to achieve their financial goals. And that's all we have for you at this time. Kindly follow us on all our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website spectrumtvlive.nj. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. My name is Ofonono Joseph. Good afternoon.